off mute and camera and answering questions in the chat.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. And so this is just a reminder, this is session number 2, week 2 of the series. So let's see. Tonight we're gonna go over where we were, and then extend guide review. I don't think we're gonna go to that. We might have opportunity to go to some of the sample question tonight, depends on the timing. And so let's review what we are doing tonight. So we're on week 2. So we have three courses that we actually go to. So these are the ones. The Essential Google Cloud Infrastructure Foundation and the Essential Google Cloud Infrastructure Core Services, and one of the lab performing foundational infrastructure tasks. Let's go to see what those are. So basically, if you go in, you go open. I open up this is the course material, and basically, the first one is basically how you interacting with Google. There's a couple of ways we're going to talk about how we interact with the Google cloud environment. And then the second piece of this is like we're going to talk about a lot about the virtual network, virtual private network, private cloud. So virtual network, private cloud, and subnet, and all that, IP address, firewall, and everything. And then we're going to be talking about some of the computing services and the infrastructures, virtual machine, and how do you create a virtual machine, how do you manage a virtual machine, things like that. And then we're going to go to, I believe it's the second one. So this one is Google, Essential Google Cloud Infrastructure Core Services. This one is focused on managing the Google Access. So IAM is Identity and Access Management. This provides you a role-based access to a different resource under your project. So we're going to cover some of those. So if you watch the video, this talk about the different role in the Google environment. And then we're going to be talking about storage. So there are different types of storage. You have storage that actually you can store in Google environment, as a place where you can actually put your files into. And also you have database services, right? You can actually run a database server in the environment. It's hosted by Google, and you don't have to manage the server yourself. We're going to talk about all of that. And of course, we have resource management. Basically, this section talk about, what are the resources, what are the costs, talking about the usage and how the costs, relate to usage. And then we have also very important one is the resource monitoring, right? You get all those your resources running. You want to know how those are resources running in the environment. You want to be able to monitor it, and then understanding their performance, understanding, if there's any issue that they notify you in the logging. You can actually find out in the logging what happened to some of the resource, and then you can respond to it. So you want to be able to proactively looking at some of those resource logging and monitoring information, so that you want to ensure your end user had a good user experience, right? When your user actually coming into your environment, you want to make sure your uptime is there, and then the response time, the application is there as well. And this one is a couple of labs that allow you to go to Quick Start, to go to the Cloud Console, and then of course you have another way to access the Google Cloud is go locally from your local machine, access directly using the command line interface or SDK. And then you have a lab talking about IAM, how do you assigning permission to a role permission to different resources. And then cloud monitoring you mentioned earlier, so you can have some experience in doing some of that. And then Cloud Function, we're going to talk about that as well. So Cloud Function is one of the computing resources that you can actually get from Google Cloud environment. And PubSub, I like PubSub. PubSub is actually a great computing services that are offered by Google and allow you to do inter-process communication, which is a really cool service that we can use to develop our applications. Let's see. The last one is the challenge lab. So we will see some of those in the set of lab, and sometimes you may find yourself in a situation where the first time you go to it, you may have to struggle a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, that basically, I've done that before. I mean, one of the labs took me 4 times before I can actually successfully complete it. And that's okay. When you go to it again, you backtrack your step, you're trying to figure out what did I do wrong from the last time I tried it, and then trying to figure it out. And from that experience, you will learn a lot, going through this step. All right, I think that's a high level content for tonight. And we're gonna go. Roman, I think we've gone through the exam guide review quite a bit. You can actually go online and look to. There's a document, I don't have a link up in my head, but there's a document describing the exam guide and what the exam content is going to be. My understanding is, I took the Google Cloud Engineering exam last year with 50 questions, 2 hours. So, okay. So Google Cloud think of Google Cloud as let me see, I'm trying to give it analogies, right? Thinking you can recreate this or thinking about Google Cloud is a infrastructure, right? And when you're buying electricity, your electricity coming off from the grid. Now you're buying computing resources, right? Basically, Google Cloud or Amazon or Azure, they sell you computing resources, right? Computing power. You just buy it from them, and you basically rent it, using their environment, getting the computer resource based on the usage. And in Google Cloud, they have a lot of, I think it's over 150. I don't remember the exact account, but I believe it's 150, over 150. There are many different type of resources you can get. For this, we're talking about the range from basic infrastructure as a service all the way in the middle is the platform as a service. And then you go to the SaaS, which is the software as a service. So the example of infrastructure as a service, like something like VM, they actually getting the actual CPU, the memory, the disk and the interface, right? The actual physical, you get into physical infrastructure. So you get, the disk is, when you create a VM, what you need is the memory, the CPU allocation, your disk, and the network interface, right? Those are the things that pretty much allow you to create your VM. And then we have a VM server, kind of like a platform as a service kind of thing, in between. And then you have a cluster management. Cluster management is related to like some service like Google, GKE, so Google Kubernetes environment. So you have create a cluster of nodes, and then you have within the node you have path and all of that. And then you have a serverless environment, right? Serverless environments like Cloud Function. You don't have to instantiate anything, VM, anything to create your server compute environments, right? All you do, coding the application in a Cloud Function environment or App Engine environment or Cloud Run environment, you just deploy it over there, and they do run it for you. So as I mentioned, Google Cloud offer a range of computing services. Compute engine, Google Kubernetes engine, app engine, cloud function, and cloud run. I mean, all these services are a different way of providing us the computing resource that we need. Compute engine, that means I'm going to go into, I'm going to steal. So I'm going to start this lab. I want to see if I actually am able to create this lab and then go into the Google Cloud environment and demonstrate some of that. How do you create each virtual machine? I think I can get it to work, but I'm not 100%. Let's give it a try.
And Kevin, when you switch back later to the slides, if you do, make sure to just zoom in or do presentation style because it was a little slow, a little small, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, make it bigger?
If you can, like if you can make this bigger also, if you can, whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, I don't know how to make it bigger. That's kind of funny. When I see
zoom in, like if you're on a Mac or a Windows, you could do like Windows plus, like, you know, to zoom in.
Oh, you mean?
Like just zooming in the text then, but just to make it a little bigger.
Like this?
There you go. Good. Thank you.
So entry token, launch with token. Actually, quite launch with quick credit. That's. I'm just trying this out. I don't know if it's gonna work. I think it will work.
Yeah, try it. I mean, that's what we're here for. You know, we want to help each other out. We want to try things and be bold. So, guys, that's exactly what you need to do. Go ahead, Kevin.
All right, I'm waiting for it to complete. You know, maybe I'll just go back and talk a little bit about other stuff. So,
yeah, if anybody has a question for Kevin specifically, yeah, please ask it. You know, we are in the chat and we can relay it to Kevin.
Yeah.
And you may encounter this. I know that a few folks, for example, like Sebastian had a couple of issues where like he tried a lab and then it didn't work. But then he tried it again and then it worked. A couple other folks also like didn't like got the error like, oh, not enough resources in the Google Cloud for the sandbox. But then they tried it at different times during the day and that actually made the labs work. So that's something that you could try. So yeah, try it in slideshow. Try it in slideshow or presentation mode, either one. That way it shows a little bigger. You know, where it says slideshow.
Yeah, I know. If I do a slideshow, it's gonna show on my entire screen.
Oh, but do the other one. Do presentation view. Click on the little drop down and then do presenter view exactly, and then it stays here. Okay. There it is.
All right, thank you.
Cool.
So that's better. Okay. So let's see where we are with that. Oh, I'm in, actually. I just need to open this. I'm just opening a new tab. So I need to copy my username. Oh, I did that already. So I'm going to go copy the password. Next. So you have to accept, you know, all these agreements. I just continue. Just given, I mean, I'm sure some of you already seen this. This is the landing page when you actually logged in your project environment. So in this area, this is how you select a different project. Right now, I only have one project. I mean, I'm not sure you can see it all. Right now, I can only see two. In an organization that have an account with Google, you can see a lot more. Depends on what they have created. Right? You can see all your project within here. You can see all the folder within here as well. But so this is where I'm at. So this is the navigation to different services. I'm going to go to compute engine, virtual machine. So I'm not. So this lab is for Vertex AI. I'm not even going there. But they already created a Vertex VM for me to do the Vertex AI lab. I'm not doing that. I don't know. I can create a new VM instance. Basically, you want to create a new VM. Basically, you need to specify a name. So this is my lab one.
Yeah, see if he lets you do it. See if he lets you do it because some labs allow you to do it. Try it.
So it's going to be specify the region, and then you specify the zone, and then you pick what type of VM that you want, the type of memory, the type of resource that you want. I'm just going to pick the default E2, and it tell you, some of the memory CPU there. So this is 2 CPU, 1 core, and 4 memory. That's fine. Let it go. And then you can actually see what the disk, so the configure this is the boot disk. So this is Debian running W11. It got 10 gigs, right? So I'm just using all the default. And one other thing I want to mention is that some of the configuration allow you to do the startup. I forgot what it is. Set up the networking and set up a disk, another disk if you want to. And you can set up firewall rule for your VM. We're going to be talking about that. There's another, where's my mouse? Oh, sorry, lost my mouse. Sorry, hang on a second. I lost my touchpad ran out of battery. Bear with me for a second.
Go ahead.
Oh my God. But anyway, so there's one place where you can actually specify a startup script. So you ask the question, why do I need a startup script? Well, the startup script allows you to set up your VM environment, the necessary dependency that you may want to run. And that allow you to do that. And then also about the startup script, is also allow you to create a template. Let's say I want to mirror what I'm doing this exact same virtual machine. I can create a template out of it and then put a startup script in it. And then when I create virtual machine, all I have to do is refer to that template. And that I don't have to go to every step again to the second virtual machine. That's what's nice about the template. What go to issue? Okay, I get a name must contain. Oh, it cannot. You have the lowercase or something. There you go. It's creating the virtual machine. Right. So that's it. That's all you have to do, right? It's create a virtual machine. But there's a lot more to it than just basically clicking create a virtual machine.
And you saw how like all those clicks that you did. Also, they have like right at the bottom of the instructions, they have the way that you could do it through the command line. So, folks, remember the command gcloud compute instances create. That is the command line to create a virtual machine with a command line. Yeah.
So that was one example I want to show. I mean, I want to go on, so I'm going to let the other labs running. So maybe so there are 4 different ways that you can actually interacting with GCP. So the way I did it right here is that I log on to the console. This is the Google the console. So another way to interacting with is the Cloud Shell. So you activate Cloud Shell, and this is a command line environment. Like Roman mentioned earlier, you can actually use the gcloud command, Kubernetes, the kube command, kubectl command. So the gcloud. I forgot the gcloud. Say compute, right? Something. I forgot the exact syntax for it, but
you could do gcloud compute instances create, and then if you put the name of the instance, then it will create it. But you have to specify the zone at a minimum. But let me just mention to folks before you continue, this is free. Remember that the Cloud Shell is free. You can create a free Google account, and you have 6 gigabytes of a home directory with because what they do is they spin up an E2 small Debian Linux virtual machine just for you, and you could do like really cool things in the Google Cloud Shell for free. Of course, if you want to do more complex stuff, you have to pay, but they give you a 5 GB home directory and the Cloud Shell for free when you create a Google account. Yeah, just to mention that.
Yeah, so this is actually similar environment. If you install the Google Cloud SDK, you do the exact same thing on your computer, on your local laptop or your local desktop. So this is similar to that.
I just wanted to acknowledge what Shava said. It starts pretty fast because it's not a I think it's a preemptive virtual machine because it's pretty fast and it comes up really quick.
Yeah, I think so. And then another option I mentioned, the Cloud SDK, and then you can actually program to it to the REST API, right? You can also, they have a mobile app. I never tried the mobile app, so I don't know how it works, but the mobile app is
I think the mobile app is like if you're shopping and you want to like, let me see what's going on with my deployment, and you're want to do it on your phone. I mean, I don't see any other reason why.
I haven't tried that really, but most of the time I spend in the console and then the Cloud SDK on my local machine. So in a project, you have many different resource objects, right? You have the network, and then you have the subnet, and you have region and zone. I'm going to talk a little bit about region and zone. Of course, within the network, you have IP address, you have the private IP address, and then you have, which is called internal IP address or external IP address. So what's the difference between the two? So internal IP address, you can only communicate within your VM in your VPC with your virtual private network or subnet. But when you want to go outside, have some, when you want to go traffic go outside and come back in, then you would need to use an external IP address. Then one of the options in virtual machine allow you to specify that. A route is just a mapping of where your destination is in the IP table. I don't know, maybe IP table is down to the really low level detail. Basically, it's a table of mapping of where the destination, how you reach your destinations. And then firewall rule, a set of rules to prevent somebody accessing your resource. So this is crucial because you don't want to expose your environment. Everybody can come in and steal all your data, right? So it's actually protecting somebody coming in, so you can protecting somebody going out. So the region, there are many different regions around the world. We have US East, US Central, US West, and then you have Europe. I think Europe East and West also, and then you have Asia, and then the VPC, the virtual private cloud, cloud VPC environment is global, meaning that it's actually your environment. You can set up your environment to with all the different regions around the world. But within the region, you have multiple zones. And why would Google Cloud doing that? So when they provide multiple zones, just sometimes for redundancy purposes, right? You create an environment that you have one zone is running, and then what if that zone within that same region is go down? You don't want your application to go down, right? You might want to set up failover. So if that zone is going down, you may automatically fail over. So your application have a way to, recover from it. There's 3 types of VPC network type. The default. So when you create a new project, I believe the default every project and with a VPC created already for you. Create a default with every project, and then one subnet per region, and then it's set up the default firewall rule. I think 4 to 6 firewall rules set up the ping I forgot the other one.
Things like
Stick with me, but
TCP, RDB,
UDP, yeah, UDP. I
yeah,
think
UDP.
UDP.
Thank you. Yeah, RDBMP. I think there's another one. Yeah.
And then there's auto mode. Also sends set up the full network and one subnet per region. Same thing, but then you have a regional IP allocation, and then you have a fixed. This is the CIDR. Doesn't mean that the 20-bit is depending how many. This is specify how many IP addresses within the subnet that you're working with. Just when you take that 32 minus 20, that's the how many. If that's the remaining bit, is that how many IP addresses that you can get? You can expandable to /116, and then custom mode. Most time, I think most organizations prefer this because sometimes they don't want to have set up all the regions with different subnet because they might not need to. In that case, you can set up your own VPC, maybe one region or two regions, depending on what the requirements is, and you can set up the subnet within that region. And that pretty much. Now I don't know. Let me see. I can go demonstrate that here. So let's see. I can go to VPC. Go here. I gotta find the network. Can you see the screen, Roman? Okay.
Yeah, I can see it well. You could zoom in a little again, like do.
I know a little bit small. Yeah.
Do Command plus. It might. Yeah, there you go.
Is it better?
Yeah, that's good. And you see how? Yeah, so the folks can see immediately that there's a default network.
Yeah, this is default networks right here, and then you can look at your firewall rule up here, down here. So yeah, just like I think it was 4 or 6. I don't remember. There's only 4. So the ingress is coming in, right? And then you have egress too. You can set up the egress firewall rule, but in this case only set up ingress firewall
Correct.
rule.
They need to understand the two terms, ingress and egress. Ingress is incoming traffic, egress outgoing traffic. By default, when you create a VM, compute engine, there's no you see that there's actually those are the default ingress, but I thought like VMs didn't have any ingress but all egress. Like you could get out of the network, but you don't accept any incoming traffic.
Yeah, these are default ingress for the VM.
For those exactly.
You want this one is you definitely need SSH.
Yes, you need SSH exactly
because you want to be able to connect to the VMs, right? So you can actually from the Google console. If I go back to the VM.
Can you try SSHing into it so people can see how you?
Yeah, you can do it. I forgot the.
I think you just type.
You have to say G-Cloud SSH.
You can do that, or click on the instance in the Cloud Console above, and I think there's like a little SSH button next to it.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to go.
Oh, try that. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
So yeah, you see this connect SSH. If I click on my SSH, it opened. You can't see it because I'm not sharing my screen. It opened a different tab.
And sure. You're only
I'm in the VM environment.
So for those of you who want to play with again with the Google Cloud, the free version, you can play with E2 small, like the Cloud Shell. You can create like little services and whatnot, but only within your environment. If you create virtual machines under your account, make sure not to leave them on, otherwise it can incur charges. Just to let people know.
Okay, let's see what else. Network isolated system. I have to, you have to think about the use case. Why would anybody want to do this, right? So you can actually create one network from, I think this is one computing VM engine A and talk to VM B, or you can create 2 separate network and each belong to a different network, so the C and D can talk to each other. So this is all allowed. But also, outside of this is a one single, let's assuming this is one single project. You can have another project that running a different network, VPC, and then you can peer them together, so all your VM can communicate to other VM in other VPC, right? But this is saying that you can actually create network isolation for project that you want to deploy to Google Cloud. You want to set up your isolated environment. This is one of the way you can set it up. And I believe, I think you say we want to set up this way so that you don't want your application be accessed from many different places. You want to be isolated. So this is a external internet access and coming into the C and D, and then A and B doesn't have any external access, so you can shut that off. So only A and B can talk to each other, but it cannot. The external network cannot come in. And those are in the different regions too. You can notice B is in Europe West 1, and then A is in US East 1. For C and D, they're in the same region. So this is talking about a sub-network across multiple zones. So you can, within the region, so we talked about earlier, it's within the region, you have multiple zones. You can set up a subnet that actually cross the boundary of the zone. In this case, that's what we're talking about. So you have subnet, this is 10.00 to then 10.001 and 2 and 3. So this is actually the IP address of this VM, and this is IP address of the other VM in zone B, zone A and zone B. But they can still talk to each other. So even though they're in a different zone, because they are in the same subnet.
Correct. And this is how you create resiliency. That way, if one zone goes down, the other ones either pick up the load and maintain your application still running. So yeah, that is the reason to create it like this. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's mentioned about single firewall rule can apply to both VM. So you can apply. Remember, I mentioned earlier, right? In the VM configuration, you can apply different firewall rule to your VM. Explaining subnet without creating instances. So in this case, you have a project. Within the project, you have a network, but you have multiple region A, region B, and region C. And remember, each region has its own subnet. And then what it said is IP range must be unique, valid CIDR block. So the CIDR block is the slash some number here. This is called CIDR block. So this is /20 and /16. So you have a different subnet, a different IP address within this subnet. So I think this subnet is actually external IP. The 10 network used to be internal IP address, but I think 172 could be, I think it's internal as well. Okay, so this is basically how you separate, setting up the different region and different subnet within the region. Mentioned earlier, by default, each region has its own subnet, and you can connect the VM to each subnet. So when you create your VM, you have to specify which subnet is your VMs belong to. All right. I think I mentioned this one. The VM can internal and external IP addresses. So the internal IP addresses can communicate within the network environment with other VM, and then you have automatic DHCP assigning IP address to the VM. But when you requesting external IP, you have to allocate it from the pool this ephemeral, meaning that this can change. Your external IP address can change from the pool. But if you want to have a static IP for external IP address, you have to reserve a static IP. So, for example, why you want to do that? For example, you want to mapping your external IP address to a domain, then you would want to create a static IP, external static IP address so that it doesn't change on you. I haven't tried this, bring your own IP address. I guess to work. It's basically, you have to assign to the VM with your IP address, as long as that IP address is not conflicting anything else within the external IP address. So this should be all set. As far as the VM is concerned, it doesn't know about this external IP. It just mapped to the internal IP. So DNS is domain name resolution for internal addresses. So when you're looking at the VM has a host name. Every computer has a host name, and then this allows you to map your host name to an IP address. That's what the domain name service is for. So this is qualifies, like in this case, the qualified domain name is the host name, and the zone, and then .c your project IP, and .internal. That's typically what the host name naming convention is supposed to be. So this is handled by the DNS resolver, and then it's provided as part of the compute engines. Once, and then you can configure using DHCP, and then again, you're just resolving the internal and external IP address based on the naming resolution to this. I don't think I can show that in here. Let me see. You can say search for. I don't know. There's any DNS in here. Oh yeah, Cloud DNS. This is something you might have to configure. This is not automatic. You have to probably need to configure it. Depending on what your use case is. Right now, I don't have anything. There's no DNS zone for this. I haven't really used this, but I went to the course material, I studied this, but I don't need to. In my current project myself, I don't have to use this. Let's see. Okay. So this theme, DNS is also can resolve your external IP address as well. So when you go to like www.google.com, you have to go to some domain name server to resolve what the IP address is, right? In the network traffic, it uses the IP address for searching for the destination, sending packets, where to send the packets to, using IP address, not using the name itself. The name itself is using for convenience. So we just need to type, www.google.com instead of typing the actual IP address in your address bar here. But I think that pretty much that is supposed to do. Now, like I said, I haven't used the DNS zone. I'm using the Cloud DNS. I'm not sure. I mean, I have to find a little more information on this one. Roman, do you know how to use it? Cloud DNS?
No, but I know that Google Domains got actually sold by Google to Squarespace. Now they own the Google Domain stuff.
Yeah,
but they do have cloud. They still own the Cloud DNS piece. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a Google domain from Google. They transfer my domain name to someplace else.
Yeah, to Squarespace. They are in Squarespace now. Yeah, Kevin. So maybe we can start wrapping up. That way we can do a little review before we wrap up. So
okay, so we have 20 minutes left. I think I mentioned this. A route is mapping an IP address to destination. So I think that's pretty straightforward, right? So I mean, internally, within your VPC environment, it does it automatically for you, right? And firewall rule protects the VM instance from unapproved connections. So that I mentioned earlier, so that firewall will allow you protecting your resource within your environment. You can specify a different way of allowing access to your environment, TCP, UDP, SSH. There's other things that you can actually, your firewall can allow it to do. But keep in mind that there's some of the question in the exam itself related to this. Firewall rule use case, yeah, so this is the egress, right? So egress meaning that your VM need to go out into the internet. Let's say you want to install some software like sudo app install Python or something like that. It has to that application need to go out to the internet and query for the Python package server and then bring it back down to your VM. That's why I need to go the egress. You need to go out. So the firewall will need to allow the VM to go out to the internet and get the Python packets coming back in. And then within your Google Cloud network environment, you can actually set up what firewall rule between the different in this case firewall egress to go to a different VM.
Go ahead, Shava.
So some people might not have a networking background. So when we say packets are packets, when, for example, you download a PIP package, packets are traveling back and forth. You make a request, you get back data. But the egress is where is the party who is initiating a connection, where the connection points to. Because information is going to travel both ways. So that's the main thing, that where is the connection going from to. Yeah, I don't know if I describe it well.
Yeah, the data. You're right. If we go talk about the underlying TCP network, the network layer, 7 network layer, you're at the lower bottom network layer. So you go down the physical layer, right? You go to your network layer, and then you go down the physical layer. Your packets go down to the wire, and then go out to the internet.
Yeah, essentially the firewall is intelligent. It's stateful, so it can track which connection state the TCP connection is in, and so it can track that. It can identify once the connection built up egress or ingress way. Then after that, it can let all the rest of the packages go, unless they are bad packages.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the firewall, protecting, is basically providing either you allow or not allow to go out, right? In this case. So, and then firewall rule, we talk about egress, right? This is ingress, meaning it's data coming in. So you have somebody typing in the browser trying to point to your website, and your website is hosting within the Google environment on your VM, and that needs to allow the firewall will need to allow that the traffic coming in. So if the firewall rule doesn't allow it coming in, so your user would not be able to access the website, right? And the same thing within the VM, within the Google Cloud Virtual Network environment, this VM. And if this VM protected by the firewall rule, and it would not, if it doesn't allow it, it would not let this VM, the top VM, communicate to the bottom one. So there's some action that you have to do. In the firewall rule, permit ingress connection, you can deny or permit. So there's some of the protocol I mentioned, TCP/IP, UDP. And then also the source, CEDAR range of IP address can come in. And then, of course, the port, you can actually some of the conditions you can allow or not allow the port. So this is basically to describe some of the pricing that Google charged, and some of the network traffic, there's ingress, there's no charge. And egress to the same zone internal IP, there's no charge. And egress to the Google product like YouTube, Map, and Drive, I'm surprised. I just when I read this, like no charge. Okay, cool. And egress to the different Google Cloud service within the same region, no charge. But if you go outside the egress between zone in the same region, charge you about 0.01 per gigabyte, and then to the egress to the same zone, external IP, same price, and egress between each region within the US and Canada, same price, and then within other region, between other region and traffic, and between US region, is vary by region. So one of the things you can find out how much it costs. So there's something called a pricing calculator. You can actually go in, specify what you want to do, and then tell you how much it's going to cost you.
Kevin, I think we should be good to stop it here so that we can do the.
Yeah, this is the calculator we're talking about. Is it the last slide? I don't remember.
If not, we can stop it here anyway. But yeah. Anyway, folks can find. We can share the slides in the chat. But anyway, remember, all the content from here is from week 2. All the week 2, the 3 badges that are available for you to pass. So we're going to share the slides. But now I'm going to share my screen so we could do a little bit of a quiz review, as always. Let me, I'm going to share my screen. Can you stop sharing, Kevin? I don't know why I cannot.
Yeah, hang on a second.
Okay, so I'm going to try. Okay, so I'm going to try sharing my screen. And let's do it the same way. So I'm going to be sharing the, join at Slido with this code. Let me type it in the chat. You go to slido.com and the code is 2231121, and you can join this session. We're going to be reviewing some of the questions in week 2. Remember, if you already completed week 2, this is just a review for you. But if you haven't, you're going to be seeing these questions in the next 2 weeks. So remember, if you got to exercise that exam cert muscle, you got to try those quizzes and try those questions to force you to learn, to force you to think. That way you can go with more confidence to go and take the certification. We're going to also be sharing something that the team is building for you guys. We're building, it's very similar to like the batch tracker. We're actually building another little tool for you to exercise those questions, and so that you can practice the test, some of those test questions, some of those certification questions. You're going to be able to test those. You're going to be able to practice those, and a little tool that we'll building for you guys so you can practice those questions. So we're going to be showing you a little bit of that, just a preview. That way you can get a feel for it. You go with more preparation. All these questions that we're giving you as a PDF, you're going to be able to see it in a little web tool that you're going to be able to try the exam and see if you can pass. So again, that's what the team is putting together for you to prepare you further. So let's, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. So that way you can join. Again, join us, Slido 22231-121. This is not a competition. This is a practice. We are all learning together. If you miss the question, if you don't understand it, it's totally fine. You will see this in the content of week 2. If you haven't, you will. So try your best in answering the questions. But if not, again, this is going to be recorded. You can review those questions where you failed. But just make sure to at least participate. That way you get a feel for the test. Marisa says, where are the class lights posted? We're going to drop it in the Slack channel. We can also drop it in this chat. But if you join our Slack channel one more time. So I'm going to drop the Slack channel here in the chat, and you can join. If you are not in our Slack channel, make sure to join. And we're going to answer your questions, give you more resources. If you haven't still gotten the credits, please let us know. That way we can hook you up. but make sure to sign up for all the sessions at a minimum. Okay. Josue says, what technologies are you using for building the app? We're using Flutter and Firebase and the Google Cloud. So we build that tool using Flutter and Firebase for doing that. And then you're going to be able to take the quiz as if you're doing the certification. You go through questions. At the end, it tells you whether you passed or not. It's a mock test. So we're going to be putting together that for you guys so you can practice. Yes, which channel? Yeah, I just dropped the chat. That is the Slack channel. Let me drop it one more time. This is the Slack channel. You click in there. That is our Slack channel. Make sure to join. And that way we answer your questions and give you more resources. Josue, you've never used Flutter? You are in the right community because I am a Flutter GDE. I can hook you up with some Flutter resources. So let's go ahead and start the quiz for the remaining time that we have. Let's start with the questions. If you guys are ready, let's do it. And first question, if you remember this, what is the command to make a cloud storage bucket in GCP, in Google Cloud platform, named My Bucket? Is it gcloud make bucket G as my bucket? Is it gsutil mb gs my bucket, or gs cloud config mb name my bucket? You might get it wrong. That's okay, but give it a try. What is the command to make a cloud storage bucket using the command line? So I'm going to give you just a few more seconds so that you can give it a try. I'm not going to, if I hit next, I think I'm going to lock it. I think that's what it does. So, okay, we have 23 of 27. I think that's good enough. I can give you maybe a few more seconds to try. Let's see what people are saying. gsutil mb gs my bucket. Most of the people are picking that, and the correct is gsutil. gsutil is the command line for Google Cloud for you to make a cloud storage bucket. So it's gsutil. That is the tool. Next one, how to copy a file from your local environment to a cloud storage bucket. Let's say you have the Cloud Shell and you want to copy a file from your environment and you want to copy up to cloud storage using which cloud command? Now that you know that it is gsutil, now which one is it? So it's gsutil cp, gsutil copy file name, or gsutil cp, the gs file name, and then gs my bucket file name. So where from your local environment you can upload a file to cloud storage bucket. So try one of those three commands. Which one is the correct one? You get this in the exam. That's why we're testing you. That's why we're trying you.
Yeah, think about the destination. Where the destination
Exactly. Think the source. Thank you, Kevin. Source and destination. Think of that. Remember your local environment to the cloud storage. We have 21 folks out of 27. Let's give you a couple more seconds. 26. Oh, good. Okay, so 26 out of 27. I think we're almost all of them. Let's try now. People are saying gsutil cp file name gs my bucket, and that is correct. You're copying from your local environment. So it's cp file name, whatever the local path is. Correct. Next one. What is the difference between the Google Cloud Console and the Cloud Shell? What is the difference of the Cloud Console and the Cloud Shell? There's no difference. These tools are 100% identical. Cloud Shell is a locally installed tool, while the Google Cloud is a temporary virtual machine. Is the opposite. Cloud Shell is the command tool, while the Cloud Console is a graphical user interface. Or last, the Cloud Console is a command line tool, while Cloud Shell is a graphical user interface. So which one is it? If you notice, we kind of threw a couple of confusing words just to trick you. But remember, this is part of the exam. So make sure which one is the difference between the Cloud Console and the Cloud Shell. And you saw both in Kevin's presentation, in Kevin's session. You saw both. So we have 25 out of 27. Let's see which one. Okay, people are saying Cloud Shell is the command line, while the Cloud Console is the GUI. That is correct. Cloud Console is the web-based GUI, while the Cloud Shell is the web-based command line. So it's the command line, but it's in the browser also. So good answering, guys. Next one, which of the following does not allow you to interact with the Google Cloud? Which one you don't interact with the Google Cloud? Cloud Explorer, REST-based API, Cloud Shell, or the Google Cloud Console? Which one does not allow you to interact with the Google Cloud? Take away the one that you think maybe doesn't exist or is not even real. But there's a few that actually, there's only one that is not real. So think about that. Is it Cloud
Or think of the things that you know that are real,
exactly,
and you can eliminate. Each way works for you.
Exactly, whichever way works for you. And Linda has a lot of experience in that, so please listen to her.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of experience of failing, right?
I didn't mean to say that. But you do have a lot of experience taking exams.
I have to give myself power. So we know that we can interact when we go in Google Cloud. We can interact through console and shell. Now you have only to think between the Cloud Explorer and REST-based API. What is doing the REST-based API? So if you have this answer, if you can eliminate from this, it will be easier.
Very good point.
I don't want to give you the answer, but I'll hit you and then I will say mine.
Let's see what people have answered. We have 24 of 27. I think that's good. That way we can answer a few more. People are saying Cloud Explorer does not exist, and that is correct. Cloud Explorer.
They got it.
They got it. They got it. Cloud Explorer does not exist. Good. Next one. Let's see if people were paying attention. What are the 3 types of networks offered in the Google Cloud? Is it IPv4 unicast network, IPv4 multicast network, and IPv6, zonal, regional, and global, default, auto, and custom, or gigabit, 10 gigabit, and 100 gigabit network? Let's see if people were paying attention to Kevin. IPv4, unicast, multicast, or IPv6, zonal, regional, and global, default, auto, and custom, or gigabit, 10 gigabit, and 100 gigabit network? Which are the three types of networks?
Yeah, this question is really tricky. You try to trick you. So
it's tricky, even though like you could say all of these could exist, and they do exist, not precisely maybe in the Google Cloud, but they do exist. But which are the 3 types of networks?
Yeah, I mean, like zonal, regional, it sounds mixed in, but I'm not sure it actually is right?
Are you sure? Okay.
These are the questions that I don't like, the network questions.
Me and Linda don't like the VPC stuff.
Because it's my weak point. That's one that I have to learn better.
Yeah, like Roman said, you pay attention to what I said earlier about, we have a slide about exactly this.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have 25 out of 27. Let's see what people have answered. People are saying default, auto, and custom, zonal, regional, and global, but people are going more for the default, auto, and custom. And the correct, yes, you see, that's the thing that we were saying.
I was floating between B and C, you know.
Correct. People don't get tripped up. This actually comes out in the exam. Yeah. So make sure to pay attention. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Linda and Kevin, for the color commentaries. Next one. What is one benefit of applying firewall rules by tag rather than by address? This is something key, and this is why the Google Cloud is famous and unique. What is the benefit of applying a firewall by tag? Is it that when a VM is created with a tag, the firewall rules apply irrespective of the IP? Tags help organizations track the firewall billing. Tags on firewall rules control which ephemeral IP addresses will receive, or tags in the network traffic help you with network sniffing. Why tags
are... If you think of what tags in general means, you will have the answer. It's not only
if you know about tags,
that's it. And that will help you a lot.
And that's something that does come out in the exam a lot, about tags, tagging resources. For example, the difference between tags and labels. So I'll let you answer. We have 19 out of 27. I don't know, Shava, Linda, Kevin, if you guys want to add something else about tags, firewalls, and whatnot, while people are
answering. I mean, tagging really uses for firewall rule, right? So there's reasons behind it.
Exactly.
I mean,
why
we use tag for most of our stuff that we do development anyway.
But now let's see why is one benefit. Like, which is one benefit. Let's see what people have answered. 24 out of 27.
Let's don't give the answer right away. But I guess they got it. I think they got it.
They got it. It's because you don't manage it. But you don't put a firewall on an IP, because if the IP changes, then you're doomed. Exactly. Next. In Google Cloud, what is the minimum number of IP addresses that a VM instances needs? We mentioned a little bit of that. Is it one IP, only an internal? 3, one internal, external, and an alias? Or 2, one internal and one external? How many IP, or the minimum, the minimum IP addresses that a VM instances needs? Remember, needs.
This one should be
not that you can assign. Exactly.
Yeah, you can assign many, but
exactly. So what is the minimum exactly? Is it 1, 3, or 2? Let's see if people paid attention to that aspect where Kevin mentioned about egress, ingress. When you instantiate, when you create a new compute engine in a VM instance, why do you?
And also default to something. It defaults
to something. That's something that will give it the answer as soon as people answer this question. And I think this should be the last question because we're at time. Let's see what people have answered. We have 25 out of 27.
Think if you have a VM that it's a shielded VM, or what kind of communication needs to have, and that will give you the answer. But I think they got the right
people got
answer.
it. It's only one. That is the minimum.
Yeah.
When you create it, you only need you don't need an external IP. You can add it later, but exactly correct. Thank you very much. So guys, I'm going to be providing these questions as always as a PDF. But again, like I mentioned, we are putting together a nice tool for everybody. I think I can show you even a preview of that tool. The tool is going to be hosted also. If we go, let me show you. This is a tool that we're putting together for you guys so that you can practice all of these questions, not as a PDF, but as a tool that you can go answer questions. You can see, for example, what is the correct and right answer. And then you can take the exam. You can review the questions. You can review the answers that you've made. And at the end, it can tell you whether you passed the exam or not. So
that's so cool, Roman. Congratulations.
Cool. We're helping you prepare for the exam. So stay tuned, guys, for this type of resources that we're putting together. Make sure to give us, again, as always, your public profile. That way we put you in the batch tracker. Let's do our usual, take a picture for the session. So if you don't mind, let's open up our cameras. That way we can take a nice picture.
Can I say something, Roman, before we take the picture? To recommend everyone, if you have questions or something, try to post in the public channel. So if any one of us is available, they can use it. If you help you. If you use the private DM, if someone is driving or is away from the desk, you might have to wait maybe 2-3 days until that person goes back to you. So it's easier if you put it in our road to certification channel, so anybody can help you, even your teammates here working with us together. Right?
Definitely.
Sometimes.
So all the help we take, all the help that we can take from the community itself. Again, remember, this is not just me, Kevin, Linda, Shava, Carol, Paul, Pradeep. No, it's everybody. Let's help each other out, and let's help each other out. That way we can pass the certification and get cloud proficient. So
life happens, even for us. So it's not that we don't want to help you. Maybe in that moment we have something happening and we cannot help you.
Definitely. So stay tuned for, again, more tools that we're putting together for you guys. For now, continue on your path. Remember, continue on week 3 because that's where we're going to be focused for the next 2 weeks. Join the Slack channel. That way we answer your questions. Continue watching the videos. Continue practicing those questions. And now let's say goodbye with a nice smile.
I can take the screenshots. So
go ahead, Kevin. Yeah.
There's a question in the email asking about how to get the voucher. So maybe you can repeat the requirement to getting the voucher.
Yes, remember the voucher requirement is you need to complete the 14 badges. You need to complete all the requirements in the batch tracker. When you see all your little golden little dots completed, you got a voucher. You automatically got a voucher. We're going to hook you up, but you got to complete all the requirements. Okay. So make sure to stay tuned to the batch tracker, continue making progress in your cloud path. And yes, now let's take a couple of pictures.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
do
taking them. Yeah, smile everyone.
let's do our customary GDG
GDG.
signal. I know some people
Yeah.
don't like it, but yes, this is the GDG signal. Let's take let's do this. Let's take a couple
1 second because it's 2 pages. So just keep
2
on
pages, yes.
smiling. Yeah, I have to go back and forth. So keep on smiling
And now let's do everybody a wave. That way we can all say goodbye. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Stay tuned. Have a good night. Stay in touch in the Slack. Always, always, always keep in the Slack, asking your questions. If you get stuck on anything, the community is going to help you. Okay. So drop your questions in the chat and the Slack channel and stay tuned. Okay. Continue on week 3. We're going to keep giving you resources as needed. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you so much for joining. Okay.
Good night.
Take care, everybody.